Minister Mbalula, Minister of Sports, President of SAFA, Tenijutan, Chairman of the PSL, Dr. Ivan Khoza, Chairman of Kaizer Chiefs, Ms. Kaizer Mtaung, CEO of SAFA, Dennis Mumble, Usodolopu wasekukhulweni Mr. Mondli Gungubele, Mr. Saukela from AmaZulu, all protocol observed. I am here to give you a story. But I want first to thank Cesirini and the Moshoeu family for allowing me to be part of their furniture for the past 28 years. I met John through a friend of mine who was the younger brother of a person who gave him a chance to play professional football, the late Khaled Passmore. He introduced me to his brother in 1986 to be part of Blackpool's administration, then called Giant Blackpool. Two things happened during that year. Each and every Saturdays, when the team was playing, there was one common denominator. There's a lady I saw every game. By then, I didn't know who she was. Out of being inquisitive, I discovered that it was Shu's mom. And out of all the players I met, out of the ordinary, a certain synergy happened between me and Shoes without being introduced to one another. There was that mutual respect. I didn't know where did it come from, but I gathered, like Steve Compella said, what is written in the stars, you cannot change. Fast forward, Blackpool went to play in the then second division playoffs in Mthatha. It was long before South Africa recognized the immense talent John Shoes Moshoeu had. It was in Mthatha where he got some respect from the present national coach who was then coaching Fall Reefs, Mr. Shakes Mashaba. And he had a nickname he was given by the folks from Mthatha. Those who were there in Mthatha in 1986, bebembiza bathi bambelela siyajika. Coming back after the victorious tournament, less did I know that he was celebrating his 25th birthday in December. As now I was very close to him, I had a problem what was I going to buy him for a birthday present? So then I let it pass. Opening of the season 1987. I stood at home as an avid reader. I was contemplating, he had soccer boots. I said no. Then I went to the bookshop. I was a fan then of Frederick Fawcett, but I had a problem what type of book to buy, because Odessa File was already a film. So I said, let me try and opt for something else. That is the year when I started taking a risk on 3 things in the life and times of John Moshoeu. And in 3 years, which ultimately became a story based on what the memorial service was about, because no one touched what I'm going to talk about. I bought him a book by Frederick Fawcett. I took a chance. I didn't know what level of education he had. The Negotiator. When the season opened, I presented him with that book. That was the first book. Hell, I didn't know that I was unleashing what is today a literacy genius. But the problem I had, he didn't come back to me as to whether he read the book. And I was afraid not to preempt his reaction whether he did read the book, because South African soccer players are taken as people who didn't go to school, who are not well-versed, who are not eloquent. Then I have a problem where to place him in terms of the book I gave him. Now, I didn't tell anybody whether I did give him a present. February passed, he didn't come back to me. Then I said to myself, man, seemingly I've put shoes in a corner. By Easter, I still remember, he came back to me. He asked me, why did I give him the book? I said, because I think you deserved it. He said, how did you know? Then I said, give me 5 minutes. I went to Colored Passmore. I said to him, lo mfana unjani kanti? So Colored said, wenzeni? Umuntu webhola lo, wenzeni? Ngizwile ngathi bathi umnike something. Umnikeleni? Then I went back to him. I said, based on my assessment, not belittling you, not belittling your players, former colleagues, I gave you this book because I saw something which I can't describe as of now. Then he said, thank you. That was the first risk I took. The second risk I took, I'm going to talk about the 3 years, 87, 88, 89 only, and the 3 risks I took during that time. Fast forward, Blackpool, then the first division had 20 teams. The furthest up we have gone was number 19. And then we went back. And then Colored Passmore assigned to us, well, Dr. Khoza and Mr. Mtaung can attest to this, there are backroom boys in every professional soccer league. Well, I said to Colored, what was the duty you are giving us? He said, Uyasazi is khala khala. I said, he is khala khala. Now the team was on the verge of being relegated and trying to survive. We got to use all means there. So Iskhala Khala was one of them. To uninitiated, Ingoma. So we were listening to each and every advice. We went helter-skelter with Colored's younger brother. But there was one moment when we went with Colored in a place called Akonhoek. There was a herbalist there by the name of Makutuza. That time it was rife. Taxis were being stolen left, right, and center. So taxi people used to go to him. Apparently, they said he used a mirror to pinpoint where your taxi was. So to our surprise, we thought it was going to be a one-on-one engagement with the herbalist. Lest we didn't know that we were sitting like in a crawl. So I sat next to the door. Khaled was next to me, the late Ibrahim Sophia. Then he came, he does not consult one-on-one. Then he started looking at us. Then he went straight to Khaled and said to Hlupumfaz. Then I tried, the assistant, I said to him, Tina, sizenge bola la, iklapi yalimana. Then we went outside. Then Khaled said to me, just ask the consulting fee. Angeke simnike lo muntu. Then I said to him, but I understand he's got powers. Then the team is going to be relegated. Then he said, singcono siyemgodini. Then we left, and fast forward, really the team was relegated. Now, the second risk I took with this legend, when Blackpool was relegated, by then few top teams were aware of his talent and his capabilities. There was a possibility that Blackpool was going to lose John Shoes Moshoeu. Then I was approached. Then they said, you are the only one who can convince Shoes to remain with us 1988 for the whole season. Otherwise he's leaving. Khaled conferred with some soccer personalities which I wouldn't call theirs here, because they were afraid that Shoes will go to rival teams. Then I had to persuade Shoes, but with this in mind, that it is the territory where the parents are going to be involved. I can persuade him to this far, but how do I approach Mama Rina? Then he was staying with his grandmother and a lot of Pirates fans around Diepkloof. Shoes gave me 2 weeks. He said to me, I'm giving you 2 weeks, I'll decide, I'll come back to you. Kani, as Khaled was, then he said to me, lo mfana akana moto, akana license. Use that as your weapons. Then our Shoes was driving, but without a license. Then I said, okay. I went to him. I said, Monna, but what's our Muslim? What a license? He looked at me. Who said I don't have one? I said, no, Khaled has traffic cop friends. They told him. And then you don't have a car. The first car Khaled gave Shoes was a Mazda 626. Then he looked at it, he said, no. So we got another small car, we made a plan. People know Khaled made plans. He got his license. And I'm grateful to him. During the OK League, he stayed with Blackpool. And funny enough, I was thanked by many people that I was responsible for Shoes remaining in the second division. Up until today, Fani and Khel Masango are here. I think that team, the record still stands. They scored 116 goals in the second division. If Mr. Mambo has his archives, he can pull that out. Up until now, no team in South Africa has ever scored those amount of goals. We went back, we won the promotion. Before that, there's a funny story, Mr. Program Director, let me fast forward it. Blackpool was number 1. Val Reeves was second position. Dynamos from Newcastle was number 3. Now they had the same number of points, slight goal difference. Val Reeves played the then Klerksdorp City on a Saturday. We were going to travel to Newcastle on Sunday. We don't know, there were no cameras, there were no reporters, no TV then. Shakes Mashaba beat Klerksdorp City 13-1. When we arrived in Newcastle, Dynamo's owners, they came to us, they said, we must make a plan. We were then coached by Eddie Lewis. They made a fatal mistake. They spoke to Eddie first. When we arrived at the hotel, Eddie called me and said, Derrick, tell those guys, I don't train monkeys, I train footballers. Now, as you know the story, I don't want to mention it, you know what did they want. But I said to them, you needed 11 goals to be position number 2. Now, how do you beat log leaders with 11 goals? Then Khaled and his entourage came. But baphethe malini. I said, but baphethe 20. It was niki half. So we went to the stadium. I was sitting with Khaled's younger brother. He's a lookalike. I think he's somewhere here. Now, we didn't speak anything to the Fannies, to the Shoes, to the Gomas. First 5 minutes, Fanny scores the goal. They were sitting just in front of us, so they were looking back. So Khaled said, then I said to myself, Fanny has scored. Either Shoes or Goma is going to mess things up. The legend himself came. He scored. It was 2-0. They still look at the back. At halftime, Khaled and his entourage, they left. Now, as I was sitting with Khaled's younger brother, he's so lookalike, Keke is his name. They look at the back, the 3 menaces again, they scored. Funny again. Then I said to Keke, for safety's sake, shift. Because your brother has left and your brothers look alike. After the game, they demanded their money, and then I said, who did you give to? They said, Khaled. I said, you'll meet him at the hotel. Then the team was promoted. Then in 1989, Giant Blackpool had one of the best seasons, where I saw Muti work at first hand, but it didn't work with our team. The first team he played was Swallows. It was coached by Screamer Shabalala. That was the first team to feel the wrath of these 3 M's. Screamer went into the dressing room with all pair of cocks tied together, followed by the late Moshoeu, was still at Swallows then, and Brad Griffith. They went into the dressing room. They were clobbered 3-1. The second team, it was Sundowns. Then the third team, with due respect, Dr. Koza, it was Pirates. Their goalkeeper was some Lukele. He was from Swaziland. The paper, after the game, they called him the crying baby. Because the 3M was a menace, we managed to beat Pirates 4-2. Then came the big one. The chairman is here, he'll attest to that too. During the whole week, the papers were selling their newspapers saying, Stradlob Dood. And then the rest is history, as you all know. They were also clobbered 4-1. Then we went to Bloemfontein on a rainy Saturday. We went to play Bloemfontein Celtics. This was the last of the big guns. Then Dadem Limela, in his true sense, came through the third tunnel. Then he tried to intimidate us. We went into the field, we beat them. It was raining. Then he came out and said, Nchatse atitsi bibolo, ntwedi itsi banko matha fela. Now, in all of this journey, I saw Shoes grow into this person he was. And he helped so many players at Blackpool. He helped so many players at Kaizer Chiefs, wherever he went. But the one thing which the memorial service speakers attributed to about his respect, humility, I was trying to garner where did he get that from. After being close to the family, I saw that's where it came from, his upbringing by his late grandmother and his mother. Those are the two people I think the country should thank for giving us this legend in understanding his characteristics. Because by then I didn't understand where did it come from. At a tender age, he was behaving like this. And then I want to put one story to rest today. Dr. Khoza is here, Mr. Mtaung is here. When Shoes, after Blackpool, when he went to the market, there was this thing that the deciding factor of where Shoes was going to go, they must come and talk to me. But less people know that besides Orlando Pirates and Kaizer Chiefs, there was a third party which we went to meet secretly with John at the airport, who were ready with a better offer. It was Cape Town Spurs. Nobody knew that, except I was surprised that Glenn Binkins knew about that. Now, we went to Kuku, as John used to call his grandmother. He was an ardent pirate supporter. So John said, wherever I go, we must overcome Kuku. But time was running out. Then I said, like the speaker at the memorial service, why didn't Pirates buy Shoes outright as to please the grandmother? So they opened that bank account. Then Kuku said, why Ivini abulela mutlogolo aga skotlolo o ka re ke segole? Because each and every day in the paper, they gave us an update of the amount which was in the account. Now, time was running out. Shoes was signed, I think, 2 weeks before. So to Pirates fans, it was not me who wanted Shoes to go to Pirates. But it was the time remaining before the league started. It was 2 weeks. So Chief signed Shoes 2 weeks before the commence of the season. So let's let that story to rest. That was the second. The third risk is, and the final one. Dr. Khoza on Friday said I must stand up. He tried to clarify certain things to the audience who didn't know me then. That is Shoes' behavior and dress sense. He exposed me where did it come from? Now, soccer players, maybe now they are better, but then they were bad dressers because they would translate club colors into their private wear. So, shoes being close to me now, I invited him to one Saturday to Orlando Stadium. The old Orlando Stadium, there was a cosmopolitan section next to the Orlando Pirates grandstand. I don't know who named it that name. It was Congo, where every supporter of each and every of the big three would stand together, irrespective of which team was playing. So I came with him, trying to conscientize him in terms of fashion, because when I invited him, you see soccer players before they come with short pants and everything, so he stood there. So after the game, I said, what did you see to this gentleman? Then he said, their dress sense. So that's where it came from, Dr. Koza. He started appreciating good clothes. I heard Steve said he bought him his pair of Hugo Boss jeans. So he came from my school. That's my bragging rights. And in all the years, a certain Charles Darwin says, legends are not born of their capabilities and intelligence, but they are born as how to adapt to change. Now, John went to Turkey. In a year he was in Turkey, in the old landlines. When he phoned me, he greeted me in Turkish. First time I dropped the phone because I thought it was the wrong number. Then later he called again, he identified himself. So it was easy how he adapted to change, which are signs of legends. And in my entire life, in the past 2 years, when this illness started, of the 28 years I've been with him, these past 2 years wiped all the 26 years. It changed all the things we used to talk about because we concentrated on his illness. The fighter as he is, I saw him going through that pain firsthand. I saw him trying to be strong. I saw him suffer. I couldn't relate his life to the sickness when it was first diagnosed. So I didn't want to say this, but I would have betrayed him if today I don't react to the article which came when he was hospitalized. Especially when the remains of Nat Nakasa were brought back to the country, some journalists saw it fit, in pursuance of journalistic excellence, they gave us that article. I want to say today, sickness which results to death is not a scoop, but it's a tragedy. Thank you.